Just a disclaimer that all the clips and music in this video are used under fair use for educational purposes. In this video, we're going to look into some of the legal controversies surrounding Joel Zimmerman, better known by his stage name, Deadmau5. Under his stage name, Joel is an accomplished electronic music producer, DJ, performer, and musician. He's based out of Canada, but performs all over the world. He is known most for his progressive house music, though he also dabbles around in other genres of electronic music. He has records that span across genres like drum and bass, dubstep, techno, glitch hop, and ambient. He also has great knowledge beyond the music. He invests his time and energy into the back-end technology side of things as well. For his last tour, he was the core visionary behind the visual experience and custom stage that went into the performance, a job that most other DJs would pay somebody else to do. During the performance, he has the ability to tilt and rotate the stage, and he also has the ability using a software called Touch Designer to manipulate the art that's shown on the screen.
Touch Designer is a visual and data creation suite that does things in real time. The real high FPS, super high res and tight imagery comes from communicating directly to the GPU, and we're using a lot of that. The show runs from 2 Quadro RTX 8000s.
So yeah, as you can tell, he's very knowledgeable on the topic and can talk about this kind of stuff for hours. There's so many interviews that are great. Now we're going to go into the central piece surrounding the first controversy, his brand. His brand name actually stems back to 2002, when he quite literally found a dead mouse inside his computer. And he thought that was pretty funny, so he used it for a chat room name. And he had to spell it the way he spelled it because there was a character limit that prevented him from using the full word mouse. And at this point, he was already messing around with music and stuff. That picture in the bottom right is actually his really old first music studio. And then he kind of just decided to roll with it for the music too. And then in 2005 made his debut album under the Deadmau5 name. And then in 2008 he made his first performance actually wearing the helmet on his head, and then basically it was just history from there. That same year he released his third studio album, Random Album Title, which is considered to be his breakthrough album by many. The first of 3 legal controversies deals with Joel's brand and Disney. So the year is 2014. These were probably some of the best years of his career, in my opinion. And he applied to get a trademark for the mouse head logo in the US, and Disney blocked the move. Basically, Disney's argument was that the mouse head is nearly identical in appearance, connotation, and overall commercial impression to Disney's Mickey Mouse ears, and it would confuse people. So he was not having it. Him and his legal team defended the brand in a 1,000-page response to Disney, which 1,000 pages looks something like this, versus a hydraulic press. But anyway, a few of the main points of the response were: 1, that Disney was working with him already on a bunch of projects, including remixing the Star Wars theme and reimagining Fantasia for the film's 75th anniversary. So it was kind of weird that they would have a problem with him filing this trademark, considering they had projects in the works. And then also that the mouse head is a registered trademark in 30 countries worldwide already, and why is Disney now just filing for an opposition? By this point, Joel had already been using the brand for almost a decade, so it just didn't make sense to him or his legal team why this was happening. He also sent them a cease and desist letter for using one of his tracks without his permission. And then interestingly enough, he made this letter public on Twitter, and this would not be the last time he does this. But fast forward to 2015, and they amicably resolved their dispute, as quoted from one of the case attorneys. So the exact terms of the settlement are not made public, unlike the letter from before, but they made up, and now both mice can coexist and live in peace. And then something funny I actually didn't even know till I researched for this project was in 2017 I found this video after doing some digging, which I guess was Disney's kind of clap back at Joel, oh, we'll take your idea too, and made this sound reactive helmet. I don't know, I thought that was funny. So we might not know the terms they agreed on, but we know that this was agreed upon to be okay, so I don't know. On to the next one. The center point of the next controversy was the Fringe Theatre Festival in Toronto. And basically, Joel's problem was with this: Deadmau5 the musical. The tale of a mouse who wants to be a house DJ, but he's discriminated against for being a mouse. The name of the protagonist is Joel Zimmerman. His friend is David Guetta, spelled Guetta cheese, and his rival Avicii. Clear references at 2 other DJs at the time, David Guetta and Avicii. So he had pretty reasonable ground to assume that this production was referring to his own life.
Wait, is this fucking play about us?
So the creators were sent a cease and desist letter by his lawyers, which was again made public on Twitter for whatever reason. And basically he said that while he appreciates that the creators of the event may have been paying him some kind of regard and respect, he cannot allow the use of the mark Deadmau5 or any such mark associated with his life in such a way that using the brand creates some kind of commercial gain based on his established popularity that he already made for himself. So then after he sent over the letter, they kind of worked something out really easily. It wasn't like it was like a huge scale production. It was like a small, like local theater festival. And Joel was just kind of like, as long as you put up a disclaimer saying it's a parody, we're good. So he kind of just let them do their thing.
Oh, you mean probably something like this.
The last controversy is around Joel and another artist, Orlando Vaughan. Growing up, he was a big fan of Vaughan's music, specifically this record from 1995, A Paco de Bango's World. Basically in 2010, Joel was like, I want to rework this into my own version, so he created his own remix.
And then and I started playing it out and it started getting traction. And I said, man, I want to release this, right? So I did what a normal, sane person would do. I reached out to Orlando and I said, hey, man, we should put this out. Like this is great, and bring it back because it's a fucking classic.
Remixing songs is a really common practice in electronic music production. He basically was like, let's go 50-50 on everything and just release it.
And then he started arguing over the percentages. He got stupid. He wanted 100 of the publishing and all this shit. And I'm like, no, dude, that's not cool. Here's an otherwise dead track that I'm going to take to mass market, and you don't, and he obviously knew that they would sell, it would give him a few grand or whatever, you know what I mean? But so he was just being a bitch about it, and then at the end of the day, I was like, man, it just sucks you're an asshole, it's too bad, and I shelved it. Here's the rule, though, because if you're a DJ playing at a major electronic music festival or something like that, you're billed as such. I can get away with playing the track at a live show or whatever.
Yeah, it was cool to play the song live, but he wanted to release it officially. But he couldn't do that under the name A Paco de Bango's World Deadmau5 Remix. So he reworked the track so that everything in there was original.
And he got so fucking mad that I did that. He was expecting I would do something else, so I put it out anyway, called A City in Florida. And now he's just still butthurt about that.
A City in Florida wound up being the third track on Joel's fifth major project, 4 × 4 = 12. This project was the first studio album to chart on Billboard Top 200 and spent over 100 weeks on the chart. It reached number 2 on the electronic album chart. Shown here are some of the other certifications and charts the album received. Maybe Orlando should have let him release the remix, and then his name would have been credited on the album, and who knows.
His name's Orlando Vaughan. So I named it A City in Florida because Orlando's in Florida. Got him!
And that concludes my video. I hope you learned something. I had a lot of fun making it.